This podcast is an invitation to feel and experience the souls of famous old Hollywood homes and to have an in-depth journey to the areas where they're located through interviews with longtime residents. Either you're a fan of old Hollywood in Los Angeles, planning to have a vacation, or, an even bigger step, considering a certain area for your future home. This is your opportunity to receive valuable information and insightful advice you won't find anywhere else.
Hello, and welcome to my podcast. Are you in the mood for California? Today, we'll explore and feel the painted ladies in San Francisco, followed by an interview with remarkable Ruth Todd, who will share with us what it feels like to live in this beautiful city.
Well, I consider San Francisco one of the most beautiful cities in the country, and one of the most beautiful cities in the world that I've seen so far. So it's certainly a draw for me to want to live here. I decided to move to California after visiting San Francisco during a week of like just glorious weather, and really you can feel the energy here in California and especially the Bay Area. So it has a vibrancy and a diversity that I can feel. I think most people can sense that also.
Masha Korpacheva is a California-based realtor and a member of the National Association of Realtors in Los Angeles. She's an advocate for selling and buying homes with soul and practicing mindfulness in real estate. With master's degrees in spiritual psychology and linguistics, Masha brings all of her skills to work with her clients. An intuit and empath, she has touched many lives with her outstanding ability to see beyond the visible and helping to come to better understanding of issues and their resolutions. An adventurous world traveler, from climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania to exploring the Galapagos Islands, Masha has a particular passion for the City of Angels. Having landed in this paradise and adopted it as her home, she's been sharing old Hollywood stories since 2007. In the mood for California, feel the soul of old Hollywood.
And now, are you ready to feel the soul of San Francisco and the painted ladies? Perched on the picturesque hills of the California coast, there exists a city like no other. Its name is San Francisco, a place that has come to be known for its vibrant spirit, diverse culture, and most of all, its enchanting Victorian houses. A remarkable row of homes that whisper tales of elegance and charm, known as the Painted Ladies, adorn the city's skyline like a string of precious jewels. Their beauty is so captivating that they have become an icon, earning the endearing nickname of Postcard Row. Towering on Alamo Square between Grove and Hayes Streets, the Painted Ladies command attention, and their grandeur and grace catch the eye of many, inspiring the imagination. These Victorian gems, numbering from 710 to 722 Steiner Street, are a testament to the architectural prowess that thrived in the wake of the San Francisco Gold Rush. At that time, approximately 48,000 Edwardian and Victorian homes were erected, a proof to the prosperity that washed over the city. Among this vast collection of architectural wonders, the Painted Ladies emerged as a shining example of craftsmanship. Every detail was carefully designed, from the enchanting turrets that reached for the heavens to the bay windows that framed views of a city bustling with dreams. The 7 Painted Ladies, born between 1892 and 1896, stand as proud matriarchs of this row. The oldest of them all, a splendid green abode, holds the history of their genesis. It was within the walls of 718 Steiner Street that the visionary developer and a daring architect Matthew Cavanaugh crafted his own dreams. Rumored to possess an unquenchable thirst for creativity, Cavanaugh set out to build a house like no other. He envisioned a home that would embody the spirit of San Francisco itself, a city on the edge of the world, brimming with possibilities. Thus the Painted Ladies were born. Time passed, and the world went through tumultuous times. In the shadow of World War I and II, the Painted Ladies, like many others of their kind, were draped in a cloak of gray. But fate had a colorful twist in store. In 1963, a gifted artist named Butch Cardam sparked a movement that would bring vibrant life back to these once muted homes. He painted them in dazzling hues, a kaleidoscope of joy that breathed new life into their walls. The fame of the Painted Ladies grew, and they were christened with a name befitting them. In the pages of a 1978 book penned by Elizabeth Pomada and Michael Larson, the term Painted Ladies was born, capturing the essence of Victorian homes adorned with 3 or more colors. It wasn't just the Steiner homes that received this title. It encompassed an entire era of architectural marvels. In the year 2020, the legacy of the Painted Ladies continued to shine brightly. One of these historic beauties, located at 714 Steiner Street, changed hands for a staggering $3.55 million. Its allure was so powerful that it was bid up above the listing price, despite being in need of tender care and restoration. Such was the value placed upon this treasure. Beyond the Painted Ladies, Alamo Square holds its own secrets. Amidst the enchanting skyline views and joyful playground, another legendary Victorian home stands proudly. Known as the Westerfield House, this magnificent structure at 1198 Fulton Street had a storied past. Constructed in 1889 by a German confectioner, it carried the weight of history within its walls. Whispers of hauntings swirled around its name, and during the 1960s, it was said to have been visited by the notorious Charles Manson, courtesy of its then owner, the enigmatic occult filmmaker Kenneth Anger. As time marches on, the tales of the Painted Ladies and their Victorian companions continue to weave themselves into San Francisco's history. Their colors may fade, but their spirit remains eternally vibrant. They stand as a testament to a bygone era, reminding us to cherish the beauty of the past and celebrate the timeless elegance that resides within these architectural wonders. And here we are. Welcome to San Francisco. I'm so happy to have Ruth Todd here with me. Ruth Todd, Fellow of the American Institute of Architects, is a former president and board chair of the San Francisco-based Page Turnbull, an architecture, planning, and preservation firm founded in 1973. Ruth studied at Clemson University and held a Richard Morris Hunt Prize Fellowship in France before becoming Associate University Architect for Stanford University. After a dozen years there, she joined Page Turnbull in 2006. Ruth will share with us what it feels like to live in San Francisco. Hello, Ruth.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for finding the time in your busy schedule to talk about San Francisco and what you do for a living today. I really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
San Francisco is known for its rich architectural history and diverse cultural heritage. Could you please describe what it feels like to live in San Francisco and what drew you to make it your home? How would you personally describe the unique character and charm of San Francisco as a city?
Well, I consider San Francisco one of the most beautiful cities in the country, and one of the most beautiful cities in the world that I've seen so far. So it's certainly a draw for me to want to live here. I decided to move to California after visiting San Francisco during a week of like just glorious weather, and really you can feel the energy here in California and especially the Bay Area. So it has a vibrancy and a diversity that I can feel. I think most people can sense that also. I love that San Francisco has distinct, unique neighborhoods, each with their own commercial corridor, most of which, have their own local park and open space and personalities. So these neighborhoods I think San Francisco is a collection of unique neighborhoods that have different things to offer, views, access to water or parks and open space, and interesting topography. Always some special destination can be accessed, within or from these different neighborhoods. So I think that's what really draws me to San Francisco. It's not too big, not too small. It's just the right scale, sort of for livability. And of course, I like the variety of architectural styles.
Yes, I can see that. And how would you say living in San Francisco influenced your work as an architect and preservationist?
Well, I think that, clearly it has a variety of high quality, interesting architectural styles. So it's always fun to work in San Francisco because the architectural building stock is really pretty good. The other thing is that they're living in San Francisco as an architect and a preservationist is San Francisco is a pretty sophisticated city. It has very sophisticated neighborhood advocates. The planning staff really knows their city and what they're doing. And there are a lot of developers that are investing in the building stock in San Francisco, and they tend to respect the reputation of Page Turnbull, our office. And we get to work on, really great projects. So I think that being in business and focused on this kind of work for 50 years has started, or has paid off. And we have the opportunity to do really good and interesting work.
Beautiful, beautiful. So would you say that there are some challenges in your work? And if there are, so what would those challenges be?
Well, I think that often the challenges, especially in San Francisco, is there's a pretty kind of, the flip side of what I just said is that there's a lot of environmental regulation that can be described as onerous. So some of the projects that we work on have a long period for entitlements and approvals that can be frustrating to especially our clients and expensive for our clients. So sometimes the process takes longer than people would prefer. And then there's also, a lot of activism that can take a long time to address.
That's very understandable. And as far as I know, preservation and adaptive reuse are key components of Page and Turnbull's work. how do you approach these projects, and what are the benefits of recycling historic buildings?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked those questions. So we approach preservation and reuse as the best tools for preserving our planet, dealing with climate change, dealing with energy savings. So you've probably heard the phrase that the most sustainable building is the one that's never built.
Mm-hmm.
Or that currently exists. So many of us join the field of historic preservation because it makes environmental sense to save and reuse rather than build anew. And historic buildings are typically the most interesting and high quality of existing buildings. So we really like working on them.
Right, right.
Yeah, we're also now starting to calculate, the field is starting to calculate the embodied carbon that exists in existing buildings. And we can now make a case that the preservation of existing buildings is better for the planet than all new construction. And it saves materials that otherwise would end up in landfills.
Very true. Very interesting. And you don't really think about it, right? That actually completely destroying a historic building would add to the pollution on the earth.
Right, it does.
Interesting. And then, as we were talking a little bit earlier today, it does seem that in the past, people used to take much more time and effort and maybe even thought in how they would approach, the construction of a building. And they would probably even embody like some of their ideas in the construction itself. And therefore, when we look at historic buildings, they're almost like living beings in a way, that they have a soul, unlike some of the modern constructions that are done very fast. Like the faster you build something, the more money you'll make, because it's like all time is money. And it seems that nowadays people do not pay as much attention to the aesthetics. Like we don't even have time to do this anymore. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think that architecture is a reflection of the time and place of its culture. And so I think what you're describing is a reflection of the culture that we are living in right now, which may have there's a larger population. The buildings may be a little bit more ubiquitous and less sort of customized or custom built than they were in the past. And I do think that faster and cheaper is a reflection of the culture that we're in. And that, to me, does introduce a big contrast from what has been built in the past.
Yes, yes. And I want to say these words to you so that, our listeners could also hear that, so that I'm in awe of what you do. And I think this is a very, very important mission that you're on, and preserving beauty, because architecture is in some way music in stone. And the same way as we like classical music and we enjoy it, and it makes our soul sing in a way. And this is the same way that I can say about architectural historical buildings.
Well, thank you I agree with you, and that's very well said.
Thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. And my other question would be, could you please share some examples of historic buildings in San Francisco that you have worked on?
Well, our firm, Page Turnbull, is fortunate to have worked on many of the iconic buildings in San Francisco, and also in our other offices, including the Ferry Building, which is probably one of the most iconic buildings in San Francisco. We were on the team that made the Exploratorium near the Ferry Building along the waterfront, the first net zero energy museum in the country. So we've worked on buildings all along the waterfront, from the Presidio, where we designed the Walt Disney Family Museum, all the way to Hunters Point. So all along the San Francisco waterfront. We're currently assisting the Department of Rec and Parks to construct a India Basin Shoreline Park, which also saves a little historic shipwrights cottage as part of the park. And we're providing historic interpretation of that site also. And then we've also contributed to the preservation of many of the buildings all along Market Street in the financial district and south of Market.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So you are truly adding to the vibrancy of San Francisco with your project. That's what it sounds like.
We try.
Yes, that's all we can do. We just try and do our best, and then the results will be for the generations to see. Because if we didn't try, there would be no legacy that we could leave after us. Could you please, and I know we've talked about it quite a bit already, but could you please elaborate on the importance of preserving cultural heritage, and how do you really strike a balance between preserving the past and embracing the future, the culture that we live in right now, when you work on projects that involve cultural heritage?
Okay. Well, we don't think that historic buildings should be frozen in time. We take the approach that they can and should evolve to meet contemporary needs. To us, that's the best way for them to remain relevant and contribute to society. So we as architects at Page Turnbull are not afraid to introduce new systems and contemporary interventions. We actually get really excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
But preservation can be technically complicated. I think you asked about some of the challenges. So it can be technically complicated and sometimes more expensive. And it takes skill and care from everybody involved. So I haven't mentioned that in addition to architects, we have architectural historians and cultural resources planners in our office. And we've done cutting edge work in preserving and interpreting cultural heritage, which sometimes is intangible. So explaining intangible cultural heritage through interpretive plans or historic context statements can provide insights that may otherwise be unknown to someone, which we think provides a voice to those who may have traditionally been unheard or underrepresented. So that's kind of a part of the intersection of historic preservation and preservation architecture and adaptive reuse.
Wow, you have like a very, very in-depth approach to preservation. This is beautiful.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you. And I know that Page Turnbull has offices in Los Angeles, Sacramento, and San Jose, besides San Francisco. So how would you say the cultural and architectural landscape of San Francisco compare to these other cities? And could you please discuss the differences in working on projects in these other cities?
Well, the differences would be that, San Francisco and LA are larger cities. Actually, San Jose is larger than San Francisco, so I shouldn't say that. But they seem to have larger planning staff and have more aggressive, development activities in the past, although everybody's kind of catching up. So, but, I think all of the cities that we work in or have our offices in have dedicated staff that really do help to move forward the historic preservation of individual buildings and neighborhoods. So I'd say the only major difference between these cities would be in sort of the quantity of projects that are addressed or the level of development opportunity.
Interesting. Just the quantity. And what about the design? What about like the style of architecture? Because I know Los Angeles is quite different from San Francisco, and Los Angeles is like so much flatter as the space. And
the character of these cities are very different. Except for San Francisco, San Jose, Sacramento, and LA are relatively flat. LA has, a huge collection of historic buildings in downtown Los Angeles, and then spreading and probably has a lot more mid-century modern buildings than San Francisco, which was built. The architecture reflects the time period of the development of these cities. And you can read that in the architecture in the 4 different cities. So Sacramento during the Gold Rush era and has wonderful, and well, Sacramento has a huge variety of architectural styles, high quality architectural styles throughout its inner city neighborhood. Los Angeles, again, has the more historic commercial buildings in its downtown, but really great examples of larger mid-century modern architecture in some of the neighborhoods throughout.
Right, right. So I always see San Francisco. I'm not that familiar with San Jose and Sacramento, but I always see San Francisco as a Victorian beauty because it has like this Victorian charm to it overall. And I'm sure like there are other architectural styles that are present in San Francisco as well. But when I just think of it as a city, it's on a hill. I mean, it is on many more hills than just one, but it's a Victorian beauty on a hill.
Right,
Kind
which
of like
does
very
reflect,
charming.
which does reflect the huge period of growth that put San Francisco on the map. And I
Yes.
think San Francisco has been really good at promoting and preserving those Victorian homes.
Very, very true. And truly, Los Angeles was booming in the 50s and the 40s, and then the golden age of the cinema and mid-century modern architecture is like so sleek and it's so simple at the same time elegant. And
Right.
it's truly a reflection of what Los Angeles is to me personally as well.
Yeah, that's how we feel about it too.
Well, besides Art Deco, I cannot not mention Art Deco in downtown. Like there are some beautiful, beautiful Art Deco gems there.
Right, and the theaters along Broadway downtown.
Yes, yes, very, very true. Interesting how architecture makes cities, even within one state, as California, different in their own ways.
Yeah, it's kind of important. Otherwise, all cities would look the same. It's nice
Yes,
when cities can express themselves
right.
through their context and their architecture.
Yes, very, very true. It's as if they have their own voice through architecture.
Right.
And again, it is remarkable that California, this one big state that is, huge and so diverse, and even within this one state, we have so many faces to the cities.
Yeah, I agree. I think people don't really comprehend how big California is compared to other states or other countries even.
Yes, yes, I agree, absolutely. And having this conversation with you today may really open up the perception of California as such a rich state and also, very culturally diverse. And even if we focus just on architecture, because sometimes people think, oh, like there is no beautiful architecture in Los Angeles. So they never say this about San Francisco, though. But there is so much in every city. And once you start exploring it and then you start paying attention to these things and your eyes really open up.
Yeah, that's so true.
My next question to you, Ruth, is as the president and principal of Page Turnbull, you lead a majority woman-owned practice. Could you please share your experiences and insights on fostering diversity and promoting women's representation in the field of architecture?
Sure. Well, let me just say that I'm the past president. I'm now chair of the board, but there's another president. I passed the baton a year or two ago. But all of the principals at Page and Turnbull are very supportive. We are a woman-owned business, and it didn't necessarily happen by design. It just happened because we have, I think, certainly more than 50% women in our firm. So we're women-owned and we're female-friendly. And we also do, especially in the last couple of years, we've paid really attention to looking at the composition of our staff, and we're quite proud that we are very diverse. We have people from all over the world in our firm, male and female, and the culture of the firm and sort of the approach we take to our work attracts a smart, capable, like dedicated workforce. And we like to say we're fun and friendly and supportive of work-life balance. And this seems to be the type of employee that we attract. So people like the culture of Page and Turnbull and like the work that we produce. So that makes us happy. And we're really thrilled that we are, we do have diversity in sort of all aspects of the firm.
Yes, yes. And that's really wonderful to hear because it has been such a predominantly male profession in the past, being an architect. Isn't it amazing that all those historic buildings that you're preserving as, women architects were probably, designed and, definitely constructed by men architects.
That's true. Although we're very proud of Julia Morgan and have had the opportunity to work on preserve some of her work.
Yes.
But yeah, she was a rarity in the field, and the field certainly has changed even, in my career. So it's great to see so much gender diversity.
Yes. Yes, very true. And I like how women continue to preserve the beauty in this world in some way.
We try.
And my last question to you, Ruth, is as an architect preservationist, you could choose any place for yourself, but what is your home like? What does it mean to you, like when you were choosing a place for yourself to live? And what would you say are the key features and elements that are most important to you? And how would you define the heart of your home?
Okay, well, let's see. It's kind of like what did they say about the cobbler? The cobbler's kids not having shoes.
Yes.
So I am an architect in preservation, but I don't live in a house that's particularly old. I live in a mid-century modern house that needs a lot of love. So it's still a work in progress. So sort of the way we've addressed our home over time is first we had to make it seismically safe. Then we paid attention to the outdoor space. And there are a few things we want to do now on the interior of the house. But it's kind of funny since I'm an architect, that the architecture is less important to us than the site. We have a nice piece of property that offers, really good views. It's got steep topography, so it allows lots of multiple terraces or decks and outdoor space. And we have a giant boulder in our yard that helps to sort of differentiate us in the neighborhood because it has such a unique focal point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that sort of the heart of the home is the indoor-outdoor opportunity that we have from our living room, which is kind of typical or popular for a California lifestyle.
Beautiful. And it's not the first time that I heard that for an architect, the site is more important. It's very interesting how architects, design buildings, and we can see this, reflection of who they are in what they do. But then for themselves, they always think about the site, like the earth itself, where they're positioned.
Yeah, it's, if you really think about what architecture is, it's kind of the opportunity to frame space, and you need a site to be able to do that.
Yes, that's true. Framing space and freezing time in a way, and making other people see this because, unless it is visible, you can't only talk about this, but once it is visible and then you see the reflection of it. And one more time, I want to say that I'm very grateful to you for the work that you do, because I absolutely love beautiful architecture, and California is a beautiful state. And thank you for preserving these pieces of, architectural significance for all of us.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you. We do enjoy it.
Thank you once again for all the work you do. And thank you for the time you took to have this conversation with me today. And until next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for tuning in to feel and experience San Francisco and the Painted Ladies with my special guest, Ruth Todd. If you enjoy my podcast In the Mood for California, please sign up for future episodes at your preferred platform and please leave your feedback. I really appreciate your time and support. You can follow me on Instagram at In the Mood for California and check out my website www.inthemoodforcalifornia.com. Selling and buying homes with soul is not just my real estate strategy. It is an intuitive and holistic approach that embraces your values, aspirations, and conscious intentions. If you want to discover the power of mindfulness in your real estate journey with my compassionate guidance, I'm here for you. Next time, we're making the move from the Bay Area to Los Angeles, and we'll see how it can influence your career if you're dreaming to be in the entertainment business. Cannot wait to see you.
In the Mood for California, feel the soul of Old Hollywood.